Discover the incredible life-changing secrets revealed in this touching, heartwarming journey. In the tiny town of Maplewood, Emily's life was a whirlwind of routines that left no room for leisure or regret. Each day, she wore a mask of determination, balancing 2 jobs and the weight of motherhood on her shoulders. With a tight smile, she hurried to the diner every evening, the neon sign buzzing overhead like a chorus of hope. As the clattering dishes echoed around her and the aroma of fry grease filled her lungs, Emily watched as families laughed and shared stories at booths, and for a fleeting moment, she let herself dream of nights spent without worry. Her kids, Jake, 8, full of wild dreams, and Mia, 6, a spirited little dancer, filled her heart with joy, but also with anxiety. Every month was a tightrope walk, where bills threatened to topple them into despair. With each late-night shift at the diner and early morning scrubs of office floors, Emily fought tooth and nail against the relentless tide of financial strain. They were more than just numbers on a stack of mail, they felt like shackles binding her, pulling at her heartstrings with each overdue notice. But today was different. A crumpled flyer caught her eye as she stacked chairs in the diner's empty dining room. Vocational training available for low-income residents. It proclaimed. Instantly, hope washed over her like sunlight cutting through clouds. Could this be the escape she longed for? A chance for Jake and Mia to rise above the struggles she faced alone? The thought ignited a fire within her chest, and for the first time in a long while, she considered the possibility that dreams could come true. But with every spark of excitement came a cloud of doubt. Was pursuing this opportunity worth leaving Maplewood and the community she loved dearly? Before she could dwell too deeply, Emily was jolted back to reality by the clink of glasses and laughter drifting in from the diner's main room. It was a fundraiser tonight, bustling and alive. The sound snaked through her heart. As she rushed into the crowd, the room buzzed with the palpable energy of neighbors rallying together, offering their support for those facing eviction. She stood watching, her chest tightening with emotion. Every face around her mirrored her own struggles, a tapestry of shared hardships woven with threads of resilience. "Hey, Emily!" shouted Mabel, the diner owner, breaking into her thoughts. The warmth of friendship melted the weight on her heart, igniting a sense of belonging. "Join us for the dance-off." Moments like these reminded her of the power of community. They all had each other, a family forged in shared laughter and meals, though the specter of hardship loomed large. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But just as everything felt safe, calamity struck. An alarming report echoed through the diner. Layoffs at the factory were imminent. Shock and disbelief rippled through the crowd. Emily felt a lump in her throat as she looked around. The heartbreak etched on her neighbors' faces mirrored her own fears. Could she abandon her roots amid such chaos, pursuing personal success at the expense of her neighbors who had become her lifeline? As she stood there, torn between dreams and loyalty, she felt a surge of newfound clarity. Perhaps she could lead her friends through this storm, not just for herself, but for all of them. And so, with a heart full of trepidation yet steeled with purpose, Emily considered the leap. Would she choose the path of opportunity, risking everything she held dear? The answer danced just out of reach, promising transformation yet shrouded in uncertainty. A wave of hope and fear washed over her as she braced herself for what lay ahead. Emily stood frozen, her heart racing as the weight of the decision pressed down on her like an anchor. The warm glimmer of the diner's lights flickered against the darkened backdrop of her thoughts. All around her, laughter faded into whispers, sharing fears cloaked in a thin veil of bravado. The news sent ripples of anxiety coursing through the room. Friends exchanged worried glances, clutching mugs like lifelines. It was a second family gathered under this worn roof, faces lined with the stories they hadn't told. Each smile hid layers of struggle, and now, the call for solidarity grew ever stronger. As Mabel stepped onto a stool, her voice pierced through the murmur. "Folks! We've weathered storms together," she exclaimed, determination radiating from her every word. "Let us support each other. We can't let fear win." Emily's pulse quickened. Mabel was right, they were warriors in this small town. Thoughts of her potential training felt like distant bells, ringing softly against the roar of urgency. She could be more, much more, but was it really worth leaving behind the only security she knew? She reprised the tangled ends of her life, specters of doubt clashing with unyielding hope. What if she could use this opportunity to uplift not just her family but her entire community? A flicker of ambition ignited her spirit. She could channel her struggle into something powerful, some way to lead everyone to a brighter tomorrow. The crowd began to sway, arms lifted to the rhythm of an old tune playing in the background. Emily found her feet moving, despite the chaos brewing inside her. With a feeling so rare, she stepped onto the makeshift dance floor, surrendering to the music that felt like freedom. Laughter erupted as she twirled, and for a heartbeat, the weight of the world drifted away. Feeling lighter, she caught Mia's eye sparkling amidst the crowd. Her little girl mirrored her moves, kicking and spinning with blissful abandon. Jake joined them, his laughter echoing like a joyful song. It was dizzying, this unity, and just like that, something clicked. Maybe this was part of the answer she sought, finding strength in each other. Suddenly, the music shifted a more poignant note. Mabel, catching the change, brought the crowd's attention back. "It's time to talk about what's next for us," she declared, heart beating loud against the silence that had fallen. "We need ideas, we need action. If we join together, we can face anything." As Emily looked around at the hopeful faces glistening under the soft neon lights, she felt a shift within herself. It wasn't just about leaving Maplewood. It was devising a plan to hold on, to uplift everyone along with her. The vision of a community effort began to blossom in her mind, filling the gaps where doubt had lingered. But just then, a familiar face emerged from the back of the diner. Rick, the owner of the factory, a figure of authority and responsibility. His appearance was a stark reminder of the upheaval looming over them and yet hinted at the responsibility he felt too. "Emily," he called out, locking eyes with her. "Can we talk? There's something you might want to hear." Her heart sank for a moment as questions swarmed. What did he want? Was this news threatening, or could it be a positive step toward the change she yearned for? As she headed in his direction, determination coursed through her veins. Whatever was said next, she would be ready to take the risk, for herself, for her kids, and for the whole town just waiting for a glimmer of hope. But what did Rick have to reveal? Could it change everything she'd just started to build? Rick gestured for Emily to step outside, the cool night air wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. She felt a mix of apprehension and curiosity churning within her. The sounds of the diner faded, replaced by the soft rustling of leaves and crickets chirping in the distance. "I'm sorry for interrupting the gathering," he began, his voice low, almost lost against the sounds of the night. "This whole situation with the factory, well, it's complicated." He shifted his weight, hands shoved deep into his pockets. "But I wanted to talk to you because I know you have the power to make a difference." Emily furrowed her brow, intrigued. "What do you mean?" "Your idea about rallying the community, it's the right approach. But we also need to be realistic. The factory is facing serious challenges, and if we don't come together quickly, we might lose everything." He paused, searching her eyes. "I want to help you lead this charge, and I've got something to offer." Her stomach tightened. "What kind of help?" Rick took a breath, looking around as if the trees themselves could overhear them. "Funding resources to kickstart your vision. We have a bit of a budget for community outreach. I can arrange for some workshops, bring in training professionals. You want to empower your neighbors? This could be the way to do it. The words hung in the air like a spark waiting for kindling. Could it really be that simple? A way to not just uplift her family but the entire town as well? She thought of Mabel's passion, the energy swirling around them in the diner, and felt a rush of hope crash over her. How do I know this isn't just talk, Rick? We've seen people make promises before I know. His voice softened, sincerity like a light piercing through the darkness. But this will be different. I want to see Maplewood rise. I want to be a part of that change. I just need someone strong and compassionate to help me lead. Emily's heart raced with the weight of possibility, but doubts hovered like shadows. What would it demand of her? Would her ambitions put her family at risk? Yet the vision of her community, vibrant and hopeful, pushed back against the familiar currents of fear. Can you promise me that the factory won't just pull resources the second things get tough? Emily countered, needing to know he was committed in more than just words. If we're going to do this, it has to be for everyone. We can't leave anyone behind. Rick nodded, understanding creeping onto his face. You have my word. If we're going to take this leap, it has to be all in. It's about rejuvenating our town, not just the factory. I'll get on board with whatever you need. A moment passed, thick with unsaid feelings and ambitions, and Emily couldn't help but feel an electrifying sense of purpose. Perhaps they really were in this together, forged by shared struggles and a collective dream. As she pondered this new path, Emily's thoughts flared with images of workshops filled with laughter, neighbors excitedly exchanging ideas. It was suddenly less about just her dreams but creating a storm of hope that could catch on across Maplewood. Okay, she said, her voice steady against the cool air, let's do it. Rick's face broke into a smile, and in that instant, she felt the weight of all her fears begin to lift. But just as they began to discuss the first steps, a loud crash interrupted them. It echoed from the wrong direction away from the diner and deeper into the shadows of Maplewood. The night had suddenly grown tense, and a familiar feeling of foreboding returned, creeping into the edges of her excitement. What was that? Emily asked, her heart pounding again, a stark reminder that while they were plotting their hopeful beginnings, trouble might still be lurking just around the corner. Together, they turned toward the sound, anxiety prickling at the base of her spine. What awaited them in the dark? Would this be a moment for unity, or an ominous signal of challenges yet to come? Rick's face shifted from excitement to concern, his smile fading as the gravity of the noise sank in. The night, once filled with hope, now crackled with uncertainty. We should check it out, he said firmly. His voice held a steady reassurance that Emily desperately needed. Together, they stepped cautiously toward the sound, each crunch of gravel beneath their feet amplifying the tension. The faint glow of the diner faded behind them, replaced by the darkness of the trees that stood tall like silent sentinels. What do you think it was? Emily whispered, trying to suppress the hitch in her voice. Could be anything, a fallen branch, maybe? Rick replied, though even he sounded unsure. As they cautiously advanced, Emily's mind raced with possibilities. Was it just an innocent accident, or something more sinister? When they reached the edge of the wooded area, shadows twisted around them as they peered into the darkness. The dense underbrush rustled again, and Emily's pulse quickened. Suddenly, a figure stumbled into view, a man, disheveled and panting heavily, his hands clutching a backpack. Hey! You okay? Rick called out, both relief and uncertainty mingling in his eyes. The man froze, his wild eyes darting about before resting on the two of them. I'm fine, he gasped, sweat glistening on his forehead. Just got lost. I thought I heard something. Emily swallowed hard, instinctively sensing that there was more to the story. What were you doing out here? I was running. But I didn't mean to trespass, the man stammered, his energy faltering. "Please, don't call the cops." Her heart softened, seeing the vulnerability in his gaze. "No one's calling anyone. Just take a breath. What made you run?" He hesitated, looking back toward the shadows where he had emerged. "I'm just trying to escape the chaos." Rick stepped forward, his demeanor shifting to one of calm assurance. "Look, we're just two people trying to help our community. If you want to talk, we're here." Emily felt that familiar pull of empathy. Whatever turmoil drove this stranger here echoed her own struggles and doubts. Within those few words, the invisible threads connecting their lives seemed to weave tighter. "It's about the factory," he admitted, voice trembling. "I lost my job last month when they downsized." Both Rick and Emily exchanged glances filled with understanding. "You're not alone," Rick responded softly. "We're trying to come together to revive things." "To help each other," Emily added, feeling the weight of their shared burdens pressing on their shoulders like a heavy blanket. Rick nodded, eyes turning toward her, a quiet promise forming in his expression. It was an unspoken agreement. This was about more than just their individual ambitions. They weren't just fighting for a factory, they were fighting for the heart of Maplewood. The man's expression shifted, a flicker of hope lighting up his features. "I didn't think anyone would care. Of course we care." "We can't lose hope," Emily said, a surge of determination filling her. "Together, we can make a difference." As their words hung in the air, the night seemed to pulse with possibility again. But just then, a rustle in the bushes startled them further, causing the heart of Emily's newfound hope to briefly stall. "Did you hear that?" Rick whispered, as the man's fear began to resurface. They turned as one toward the source of the sound, hearts racing. What else lurked in the night, mingling with the shadows? Would it bring them closer together, or deepen the uncertainty that threatened to unravel their plans? Emily held her breath, sensing that whatever lay before them could change everything they had just started to build. Would this be a moment of connection or a fracture too deep to mend? The silence of the night enveloped them, tension thickening the air like a thick fog. Emily's heart thumped in her chest as she glanced over at Rick, searching for reassurance in his eyes. The stranger beside them stiffened, his breath quickening. "What was that?" The man's voice came out shaky, laced with dread. Before anyone could respond, a large raccoon tumbled out of the bushes, tripping over its own feet before scurrying away into the underbrush. A beat passed, and then Rick burst out laughing, the sound breaking through the tension like a beam of sunlight. "Just a little guy looking for snacks," he chuckled. Emily expelled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, feeling the fear melt away into humor. The man, still wary, couldn't help but crack a small smile too. It felt like a reprieve, a moment where the darkness of the woods shifted just enough for light to slip in. "I'm sorry for scaring you," the man murmured, rubbing the back of his neck as though trying to erase the worry etched on his face. "I guess I let my imagination get the best of me." "No need to apologize," Emily said, her voice soothing but firm. "This night is full of surprises." As they stood together beneath the canopy of trees, Emily felt a flicker of hope reignite within her. Wasn't that what they were all seeking? A chance to escape their own chaos, to find connection amidst the confusion? The stranger finally exhaled, his shoulders relaxing. I really appreciate you both. You didn't have to help me." "Helping is what we do," Rick answered, his typical bravado replaced by sincerity. "Maplewood might seem small, but it's our home. We look out for each other." "Then I want to help too," the man replied with a newfound conviction. "I may not have my old job, but there's more I can give. If you're fighting for the factory, I'm in." Emily felt a thrill run through her. Each person who joined their fight was another thread woven into the tapestry of community. Names first. "I'm Emily, and this is Rick." "Daniel," he replied, a slight smile creeping back as he introduced himself. Just then, another rustle broke the renewed calm. It was different this time, more deliberate. A sharper scent of damp earth insinuated something larger was nearby. Instinctively, the three tensed once more. "Guys?" Emily's whisper was barely audible, tinged with an urgency that sent shivers down her spine. The darkness seemed to pulse, drawing nearer. And then, out of the shadows emerged a large dog astray, looking wild and disheveled, its fur matted and wounds visible. It stopped, watching them, its deep-set eyes glistening with a mix of caution and curiosity. "Be careful," Daniel warned, stepping just a bit closer to Emily. Rick knelt down slowly, extending his hand, palm open. "Hey there, buddy. We can help." With every cautious step Rick took, the beast seemed to relax just a fraction, but the air buzzed with uncertainty. Could they reach the creature, and could it help them discover something about themselves along the way? Or would it further complicate their journey? Emily held her breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over them. Everything was on the edge of something bigger, waiting to shift with the next action they took. Would this mangy dog lead them deeper into fear or, perhaps, a new adventure? The dog shifted slightly, its body language a cautious dance of surprise and wariness. Rick's hand stayed extended, unwavering. Emily couldn't look away, her pulse racing as she wondered what would happen next. "Easy, boy," Rick said, his voice low and steady. Emily felt her own heartbeat aligning to the rhythm of his calm assurance. Daniel edged back, his eyes flicking between the dog and Rick, apprehension still evident in his stance. "Do you really think it'll let you get that close?" "I have to try." Rick's determination shone in his eyes. As if sensing the warmth radiating from Rick, the stray advanced a little, but then sniffed the ground as if to anchor itself in the reality of safety. The tension hung thick again. Emily took a step forward, her voice softening. "We're not going to hurt you. We just want to help." The dog lifted its head, caught by her gentle words, and for a moment, something extraordinary passed between them. It was a flicker of understanding, a timeless connection of trust waiting to be reborn. Emily could feel it deep within her, a shared vulnerability that spoke louder than any words. "Just like us," Daniel murmured, more to himself than to anyone else. "What do you mean?" Emily asked, drawn to his unexpected observation. "We're all a little lost," he replied, his gaze shifting from the dog to the trees beyond. "This fight for the factory, it's about more than just work. It's about a place to belong. This dog, just like us, could use someone to believe in him. Someone to help him find his way." The dog whined softly, glancing between the three of them, and in that moment, Emily felt a surge of empathy. It was true, they were all searching for something: security, connection, hope. Rick, slowly, inched his fingers toward the shaggy head. The dog went still, as if contemplating the offer. Moments stretched, each second brimming with the promise of something fragile and beautiful. "Come on," he urged gently, a smile breaking through as the dog relaxed, letting out a soft, tentative bark. And then it happened. The dog took one careful step closer, then another until it pressed its muzzle against Rick's hand. A collective sigh of relief swept through the makeshift trio. Emily couldn't help but laugh, a joyful sound that rang out into the still night. "Look at him. He's already warming up to you." Rick's grin was wide, mirroring her own. "See? A little kindness goes a long way." Daniel couldn't suppress a chuckle either. "Is this the part where the stray becomes our emotional support animal? Why not?" Emily joked back, "Maybe he'll inspire the rallying cry of our movement. Who needs slogans when you've got a hero dog?" The atmosphere lightened significantly, comfortable laughter mingling with the crisp night air. The dog soaked up their warmth, its disheveled fur glistening in the dim light. "All right, buddy," Rick said, standing up and motioning for the dog to follow. "Let us get you some food." With a hesitant wag of its tail, the stray followed, and as they began walking deeper into the woods, a sense of camaraderie blossomed. Emily smiled, feeling the swell of connection between them, a shared mission, a collective hope. But as they approached the path leading back to Maplewood, the sound of rustling leaves behind them sent a jolt through Emily. Something or someone was lurking in the shadows. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, eyes glancing anxiously back at the darkness. What else lay hidden beneath the veil of night? What awaited them in the woods, with each step forward a mystery yet to unfold? Emily's heart raced, the shadows pressing in like whispers of the past. She turned to Rick, uncertainty etched on her face. What if it's just an animal? If it was, it would have shown itself by now, he answered, but his voice wavered slightly. Daniel's brow furrowed, his body tense. We should stick together. Whatever it is, we face it as a team. The stray paused, its tail dropping to a low wag, instincts heightened as it eyed the shadows. Rick knelt beside it, rubbing its neck. You're not alone anymore, buddy. We've got your back. Emily took in a sharp breath, the stray now a part of their makeshift family. Let us keep moving, but be careful. They resumed their walk, one foot in front of the other, with each step echoing their resolve. The fallen leaves crumbled beneath their feet like distant voices, reminding them of their mission. As they rounded a bend, the trees parted, revealing a clearing bathed in moonlight. The feeling of safety returned momentarily, but it was short-lived. A low growl emanated from the shadows. The dog's ears perked up, poised for action. Stay behind me, Rick whispered, positioning himself protectively. Emily's breath hitched. Rick, the growl intensified, and a pair of glowing eyes emerged from the darkness. Her heart sank. What was that? Daniel stepped forward, trying to see through the thick blanket of night. I can't tell, but we need to move suddenly. The creature lunged into the clearing, revealing itself. It was a coyote, its coat gleaming in the moonlight, but dangerously thin and wild. Fear twisted in Emily's gut, her instinct screaming to run. The stray dog drifted forward, barking defensively, a low rumble of courage emanating from its small frame. Get back! Rick shouted, holding his ground. The coyote snarled, showing its teeth. It was a moment suspended in time as the wilderness collided with their fragile hope. Emily felt the weight of the night closing in. What do we do? Stay calm, Daniel commanded, his voice steady despite the fear evident in his eyes. We'll use the sticks. We have to make ourselves look bigger. Rick swiftly found a branch and brandished it, a makeshift weapon against the lingering threat. Emily, grab that fallen branch. Heart racing, she moved to comply, the coyote's eyes locked onto hers, sizing them up. The stray continued to bark, the sound becoming more frantic. This little creature was ready to protect the newfound family it had chosen. What if it attacks? Emily asked as she scoured the ground for a stick, her fingers trembling. It won't if we show it we're united, Rick replied, gripping the branch tightly. The stray dog inched closer to its allies, instinctively positioning itself between them and the wild stranger. For a fleeting moment, Emily was struck by the loyalty written in its posture. They were all searching for safety, but this dog had taken that leap of faith. Then, the coyote lunged forward. In that split second, Emily felt a rush of adrenaline. Would they stand their ground or flee? Would they protect this dog that represented their own fight for belonging, or would fear drive them apart? Now! She shouted as the night exploded into chaos, and the true test of unity began. What awaited them in this dance between hope and primal instinct? Could they find strength in their connection, or would they scatter into the dark, leaving the stray behind again? The coyote lunged, teeth bared and growl echoing through the clearing. Fear gripped Emily's heart, but she drew on the energy of adrenaline. The world around her turned fuzzy, the details blurring as she focused solely on the threat before them. Give it space! Daniel yelled. He raised his stick high, swinging it to create distance. Emily felt rooted, as if the ground had clasped her feet tightly. But as the stray dog barked fiercely, its small frame pushing forward, something shifted within her. Rick! Let us flank it! She shouted, finally breaking free from the paralysis that held her. With determination, she joined Rick on one side while Daniel maneuvered around to the other. The dog, emboldened by their unity, growled and shifted into a protective stance, mirroring their determination. Emily could see the coyote eyeing their movement, calculating. Don't back down. Keep barking. Rick urged the stray, which responded with a hearty bark that filled the clearing with new energy. The sound broke through the shadows, igniting something inside Emily. It was more than just fear, it was a fight for survival, for family. The coyote hesitated, caught between its hunger and the unexpected strength of its potential adversaries. Emily's heart raced not just from fear, but from a fierce resolve she didn't know she possessed. Now! Daniel called, waving his stick to distract the coyote. Emily and Rick swung their branches together, creating a barrier. The coyote, startled by the sudden display, took a step back, its growl faltering. Keep pushing! Emily yelled, her voice rising with newfound authority. The stray dog darted around, barking and challenging the wild beast, embodying the very spirit of bravery they needed. With a frantic surge of energy, Emily took another step closer. We won't let you take our family! She shouted, as if the very words had power. The coyote, sensing the unity they shared, hesitated further. It looked between the three of them, its hunger momentarily eclipsed by the unexpected show of solidarity. Back off! Rick shouted. The command resonated in the air like a battle cry, and together they took a step forward, pulling their sticks up high, forming an almost impenetrable wall. With one last, piercing snarl, the coyote retreated, slipping back into the darkness of the trees. Emily felt a rush of victory as the threat vanished. The world felt suddenly larger, more expansive, as if they had pierced through the veil of fear that had surrounded them. The stray dog bounced excitedly, wagging its tail, darting between Emily, Rick, and Daniel as if thanking them for standing tall. Breathing heavily, they lowered their branches, adrenaline coursing through their veins, their chests heaving with relief. We did it, Emily said, disbelief lacing her voice. We actually did it. Rick chuckled, shaking his head in amazement. That was insane. But we stuck together, Daniel replied, glancing at the now calm dog. That's what matters. As they caught their breath, the moon above shone brighter, illuminating their path forward. Emily felt a warmth spreading through her chest, an understanding deepening. This fight, this moment of unity, wasn't just about survival, it was about belonging. I think we should name him, Emily said, looking at the stray, which gazed back at her with trust-filled eyes. How about Courage? Daniel suggested. Courage. I like that, she smiled, the name resonating like a promise. But beyond the relief, another thought loomed in her mind. What other challenges lay ahead? They had faced one fear, but there was a whole world out there, filled with unknowns. Okay, but we gotta keep moving. There's still so much we don't know, Rick said, his voice shifting back to seriousness. As they moved forward, Emily felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. What awaited them in the shadows now, and would they be ready to face it together once again? Would their newfound bond withstand the next test? The night held its breath, as the forest whispered secrets only the brave would uncover. The air felt electric as the trio moved deeper into the forest. Courage, now officially part of their small family, trotted confidently beside Emily, pausing every now and then to sniff the ground or dash after rustling leaves. Each step they took felt both thrilling and slightly terrifying. The shadows lingered just beyond their view, and the forest was full of sounds: crickets chirping, leaves rustling, and the distant hoot of an owl. It's so dark, Emily said, glancing around. The moonlight was beautiful but couldn't penetrate the thick canopy overhead. She swallowed hard, wrapping her fingers around Courage's fluffy neck, drawing comfort from his warm presence. Stick together, Daniel reminded, glancing at Emily and Rick. And keep your eyes open. Suddenly, they stumbled into a small clearing. The faint glow of glowworms illuminated the ground, creating a scene almost magical. Emily gasped, the sight pulling her from her thoughts. It was breathtaking. "Look at that!" she exclaimed, pointing out the sparkling green and gold dots. "Wow, it's like something out of a dream," Rick murmured, awestruck. They cautiously stepped forward, mesmerized by the display. For a moment, their earlier fears faded into the background, replaced by wonder and curiosity. But as they stood there, enveloped by the beauty of the glowworms, a rustling came from the bushes nearby. Their heads snapped in unison, the thrill of magic evaporating as quickly as it came. Courage bristled, his bark low and protective. "Should we check it out?" Rick whispered, excitement mixing with caution. "No," Daniel said firmly. "We should stay put for now. It might just be more wildlife." His voice held an authority that made both Emily and Rick still. They waited, hearts pounding as they exchanged glances, torn between fear and curiosity. The movement stopped, leaving silence hanging heavily in the air. Just when they started to relax, a figure stepped out of the foliage, a young girl, slightly older than Emily, with dirt-smudged cheeks and tangled hair. She looked just as startled as they were, her wide eyes darting between them and the strange dog. "Who are you?" the girl asked nervously, her voice trembling. "You're not supposed to be here." "Neither are you," Rick responded, his brows furrowing. "What are you doing out here?" The girl took a hesitant step forward, hands balled into fists. "I came to find my little brother. He got lost around here." "Have you seen him?" Emily's heart sank. Thoughts of their own struggles flooded her mind. "No, but we can help you look," she offered. Courage wagged his tail slightly, seemingly sensing the seriousness of the moment. "You would help me?" The girl's eyes softened a bit, but doubt remained. "Of course," Daniel said, stepping forward confidently. "We can't leave anyone behind." With that, a new urgency gripped their group. They weren't just fighting to survive anymore, they were searching for someone. The need to bond deeper, to confront a new challenge together, pulsed in the air. As they questioned the girl about her brother, Emily felt a shift within her. It wasn't just about facing fear, it was about bravery and compassion. "Okay, lead the way," Emily urged, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and unease. She needed to believe that they could help, that their collective strength could bring light in the dark. As they followed her through the trees, the forest seemed to pulse around them. Emily had no idea what lay ahead, but she knew one thing for certain: they were facing something much larger than themselves now. Could they hold on to their bond and find the girl's brother amidst the depths of the unknown? The darkness felt heavier, echoing the weight of their quest. What if they found him? What if they didn't? Each step felt laden with both hope and dread. The weight of uncertainty hung in the air as Emily, Rick, Daniel, and the girl moved deeper into the shadows of the trees. Courage trotted beside Emily, a steadfast reminder that they were no longer alone in their fears. Each rustle and whisper of the forest added weight to their resolve. The girl, whose name turned out to be Lily, led them with determination, her small frame filled with tenacity. "Do you remember where you last saw him?" Rick encouraged gently, trying to keep Lily focused. "He was looking for fireflies," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I told him not to go too far, but he didn't listen." Emily's heart ached for Lily. It was the same fear she felt for her own children. The tight rope of worry taunted her. They pressed on through the underbrush, hoping to catch the faintest call of a child's laughter. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a small clearing. The silver light of the moon fell just right, illuminating patches of grass where tiny fireflies danced. Emily felt a spark of nostalgia wash over her. "Kids love this place," she murmured, remembering those magical nights from her childhood. "Wait," Lily said suddenly, her eyes widening. "Over there." She pointed to a pile of branches. Emily's breath caught in her throat as she followed Lily's gaze. There, tangled among the branches, was a tiny figure. "Jake?" Emily whispered as she squinted, desperately hoping it was not her son. The blanket of fear that cloaked her heart began to choke her. But as they rushed closer, Emily's heart almost exploded with relief. It was a little boy, Lily's brother, lost in his own world. He sat, clutching a handful of fireflies, numbly staring at their bright lights. Tears filled Lily's eyes as she shouted, "Cody!" Cody looked up, his expression a mix of surprise and confusion. "I was just watching them," he declared innocently, his voice small yet proud. Lily rushed forward, enveloping her brother in a fierce embrace. "I was so worried," she cried, joy mingling with relief. Liam's eyes darted toward Emily, Rick, and Daniel, who stood back, allowing the moment to unfold. Emily felt it, a wave of warmth and happiness surging through her. Maybe it was the power of family or the shared heartache of community. They had all come together to protect that which mattered most. Rick exchanged glances with Daniel, his smile reflecting the joy around them. "You've got quite the little adventurer here," Rick remarked. As Lily clung to her brother, Emily bent down and embraced them both. In that moment, tears welled in her eyes. "You're safe now, and we'll make sure you both get home." Courage barked, joining the celebration in his own way. The spark ignited a final flame of hope within Emily. Their trials had pulled them together, and here they were figuring it out, little by little. The trek back to Maplewood was filled with laughter and warmth. The shadows of the forest seemed less daunting now, and the path felt illuminated. They exchanged stories of their struggles, realizing they were woven from the same fabric of human experience. "I can't believe how brave you all are," Lily said, her eyes shining. "But we're all brave together," Daniel replied, glancing at Courage, who trotted proudly alongside them. They reached the edge of Maplewood as dawn's first light began to break the sky, a palette of colors sweeping away the darkness. It felt like a promise, a new beginning, a chance to rebuild their dreams right there in their tiny town. A sense of belonging filled Emily's heart. "I'm officially ready to start the workshops," she declared, glancing at her new friends Rick, Daniel, Courage, and the hopeful sister-brother duo by her side. "Imagine what we can do together," Rick said, a spark igniting in his eyes. "We could organize support groups, create training programs. It will be incredible." Emily couldn't help but smile wider, contemplating the future as a vibrant tapestry of possibilities. For us. For all of Maplewood. As they walked into the dawning day, something profound settled deep within Emily. They were stronger together. They were community. They held the power to change lives. And so, the sun rose over Maplewood, illuminating a fresh start, a rebirth not only for Emily, but for everyone eager to discover what lay beyond their fears. Today, they decided to hold each other up, guiding each other through every fear, every challenge. This was their moment, and they were ready. As you reflect on this incredible journey and feel the urge for more uplifting stories, don't hesitate. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive adventures. This is the moment to show your support with a thumbs up. Each like feeds the algorithm and helps us grow. I want to hear your reactions, so comment below with how this story impacted you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need a dose of inspiration. Together, let's spread the light of hope.